Welcome to the Health Shift Revolution, Bakersfield, California's premier holistic health network, featuring Roland Brown and Bobby Perrine. Two completely different guys on the same path with the knowledge, experience, and no-nonsense approach to help you navigate the way through the difficult journey of finding your way to holistic health. We're glad you stopped by. Take a second, slow down, and you just might discover that your goals are closer than you think. Take it away, guys.
We'll get into that. Hey, welcome to the Health Shift Revolution. Roland and I are just here to change your mind a little bit. How you doing this morning, man?
Hey, I'm doing great, Bobby. How are you this morning?
Hey, I did the one thing that I do on Saturday morning. I slept in. I haven't exercised. I slept till 8 o'clock. Feel pretty good.
Great. Well, I slept in until 7, and that's my Saturday morning sleep in.
Yeah.
7, yeah. It's not that I'm any early to you, but when I get up at 4 every day, 7 is about the latest I can sleep.
I know. Once I go past 7:30, 8 o'clock, I start getting a headache and start feeling bad and wake up and my day doesn't go right. So I'm going to do the podcast this morning and then turn on some, it's college football rivalry week. So turn on a game. Go Arizona, man. They won last night.
All right. Well,
I'm going to turn on a game and exercise and get my day going.
Awesome. Sounds good.
It's head change.
Yeah. It's taking that break and getting ready for the upcoming week once we've gotten through this holiday malaise, because this is lazy time, baby.
I know.
Time. That's great.
But there's the thing is, if anytime I jump out of my routine, usually I get up at 5 o'clock and by 5:15, I'm awake. I make my bed. I do all the things I'm supposed to do. And I start exercising by 5:30 and I'm done by 6:30. My day started. But when I do what I did today, I don't want to exercise, bro. I don't.
Well, that's brilliant. That's called a day of rest. I believe that was required. As required, human beings are required to rest. I have no problem with rest days. In fact, I tell most of my clients it's important. Everybody wants to. They ask about cheat days when it comes to food, stuff like that. I say, well, cheat days aren't the issue. Do you have rest days?
Yeah.
We subscribe or prescribe exercise or whatever you want to call it for 6 days. There's got to be one day of rest. I've said this for years, and people think they've got to do it every day. They got to do something every day. No, there's something to be said. In fact, it's a component of fitness is rest. All your recovery, all the things that happen in the gym that you do in the gym, you are starters. You stimulate a process. But the process takes place when your body is recovering and resting.
Because you got the micro tears in your muscles and lactose acid built up, and you've got all kinds of things your body needs to recover. And a lot of people don't give it that time, and that hurts you. And then it's that cycle again where you're like, exercise hurts. I'm not going to do this, and you stop, and you're right back to where you started.
Exactly. And that's where we talk about the holistic approach, which is, the problem with the word holistic is it's just become such a buzzword, for so many things, and so many the words do in fitness. But there's a total body approach. Your body requires not only exercise, it requires rest, it requires relaxation, and it requires sleep. And sleep is the issue, I think, that I see as the most difficult. In fact, and it's funny because we were talking about, waking up later, on a Saturday or waking up later on a Sunday morning, stuff like that. The problem isn't that we wake up later, so to speak, from the standpoint of, sleeping in is a bad thing. It's the fact that I go to bed at the same time I do when I get up at 4 o'clock. So my bedtime is the same. And I'm getting the same amount of sleep, up until 4 a.m. But then all of a sudden I tack 3 hours on it. And now it's like, okay, now I feel like a slug, but that's great for my body because if I don't wake up, I don't set an alarm either on that day. On my rest day, I don't set an alarm.
You're right.
So when my body wakes up, that means I've gotten the sleep required at that point. I've never trusted that 4 a.m. natural wake up. So the alarm, I have never trusted that. I got to meet a client at 4:45. I don't trust me getting up at 4 a.m. on my own. They're standing outside in the cold if that's going to happen.
I'm the same way. I give myself at least one day a week where I don't turn on the alarm, because you and I both know, even as motivated as you are and as motivated as I am and as healthy as we are and as much as we exercise and what we're focused on, 4 a.m. No, thank you.
Exactly.
It just happens.
Exactly.
Yeah, I do the same thing. I go to bed at like between 9:30 and 10. I always lay down, read for 30 minutes, because that's very important about my holistic health, is my head too.
Right.
So I read until I'm a little nodding off, and then I turn off the lights and go to sleep.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's important that people understand that there is a need for a nighttime routine, a shutdown routine. I have a similar routine. I don't read as long as you do. I read, a couple of passages of scripture, and then just, that's it. Then it's lights out, because, I've set myself, to start the process at about 8:30. I'm going to go to bed at 9 o'clock and set the process. And so I give myself, anywhere from, I'm in bed by 9:30. That's just kind of my thing. But I start the process at 8:30. And that's, all the things that need to be done to wind down, finish the kitchen with my wife and do all those things I need to do. And then by the time I'm finished and I've sat at the edge of the bed and I've read, that from my Bible, and that's like, turn it off, shut it down. It's on my phone. So shut down everything else. And then lights go out. And the next thing I know is the alarm goes off, Lord willing.
Right.
Yeah, because otherwise, there is an interruption sometimes from the bladder, but the midnight visit.
That's the old guy thing, man.
It's the old guy thing. So sometimes I love when the alarm wakes me up and I've made it through the night. No water before bedtime, Barry. No.
Yeah, man. Once you get up here, it's like a little celebration. It's like, hey, I slept all the way through the night.
Exactly. Oh, yeah, the same thing. I understood how I felt the first time my kid did that. Now I'm cheering for myself because we're doing the same thing.
I want to reiterate to our listeners, every night you need to come up with some routine that you follow every night, because we're humans and we're creatures of habit, and
yes,
we burn these grooves in our head, in our brains, that are actual physical grooves, and when we jump out of them, well, we screw our lives up. So every night at 8 o'clock, I shut my lights down. I dim all the lights in my home, in my room. I usually turn the television off about 45 minutes before I go to bed. And I start to get that, okay, computers off, phones off, TV's off. It's time to shut me off.
Exactly.
So a lot of people are, going 100 miles an hour and watching sports, and right up to the time they shut the light off, and then they shut off the light and they wonder why they're laying there in bed like, I can't get to sleep.
Exactly. I mean, and checking your email before you go to sleep. Doing things like that makes no sense. That is illogical. Don't do that. Don't stimulate your brain before it's time to shut it down, before your body has to shut down. But that's also what we talk about the interconnectivity, the body, mind, spirit, aspect of this. When we, again, use the word holistic again, but that total physiology, mental, spiritual aspects of us, if we don't acknowledge all three of those and that they all need to be nurtured, but that they're all interrelated, that physical impacts the other two. And so if you stimulate your body, you stimulate your mind, well, you're stimulating your body, because the chemicals, either, dopamine, serotonin, all this, all the different chemicals that, adrenaline, especially when it comes to things like email and stuff like that, when you're doing that, the last thing you want to do is stimulate your adrenaline, before you go to bed. You get a fight or flight syndrome before you go to sleep. Now you've got a problem that you've got to work on all night. So not only does your brain not rest, but your body doesn't rest because your body's connected to your brain, and all that stimulus goes into your muscles, and you wake up drained, groggy, physically tired, and physically incapable of taking on the next day.
Right, right. That anxiety that everyone is having trouble with right now because of our American life, or I guess our world life, because it's
Oh,
reported
it's
in
worldwide.
Europe.
Yeah,
It's worldwide. There's this anxiety that everybody has, this low level, and it's killing us,
yes,
slowly killing us. When you stress all day long, even if you haven't done any exercise, your brain is stressing your entire being. So,
exactly.
as as I used to be a Christian like you, there's three parts of us: body, soul, and spirit. That's what it is. And then, like you said, they're all connected. You can't take your body away from your spirit and survive, and you can't take the spirit out and survive. So all these things are connected, all these things, and that's where that word holistic comes from. It's the whole being that we're taking care of. So if we're taking care of our body and not our mind, we're not going to be healthy. If we're taking care of our mind and not our body, we're not going to be healthy. It's all these things that you said, and you're absolutely right. We have to see that we're a triune being that needs
Yes,
taken care of like a triune being.
exactly.
You can't just put gas in your car and just keep driving it. Something's going to go wrong, and you're going to
Correct.
need to take care of it. So take care of yourselves, man.
And the
Take care
beautiful
of you.
part is that it's usually, we talk about life balance, and that type of thing. I used to do this routine with my daughters, when they were young, and we'd put them to bed, at night, and there was a 7 o'clock story time,
Yeah,
and so we'd come in, and it became such a habit that it was something that they demanded. At 7 o'clock, they get up,
right.
they get ready, and they do all the things they need to do for the bed. And then and it's like, grab a book, they get up on the couch, call, daddy, and it's bam. And so now, I've created this routine that now I'm subject to. And then at 7 o'clock, we're sitting on the couch, the TV's off. As you said, everything is quiet except for me reading. And we're reading the story together. That, half an hour of that, 7:30, they're in bed, prayer time, sleep time. And by 7:45, my wife and I have the whole evening to ourselves.
Right.
We train the kids, and so I used to laugh because people would say, "Man, my kid's up all the time." I said, "No, no, no, no. See, the problem, the problem isn't your child. Okay, the problem is you. You allow this stuff to happen, and you don't establish a routine, and you don't establish a pattern.
Right.
Patterns make people feel safe, and especially healthy patterns. They make you feel safe. There's
Yeah.
peace that comes from knowing that your body is capable. There's peace coming from knowing that you've done all that you need to do for the day mentally, and you've finished your work, and you put it aside and you set it down. There's peace that comes from knowing that you're capable, that there's something bigger than you out there that's looking out for you. And so you nourish that part of your being as well. And you say, thank you, God, for what you've given me to do today. And then you move forward. But if you neglect any one of those parts,
Yeah.
and frankly, the reality is most of us neglect the physical. One of the big challenges, okay, I'm a Christ follower, okay? The big challenge in the church is focus on so much on spiritual that we neglect the physical. So you've
Right.
got, out of shape pastors and out of shape parishioners and out of shape, congregants and out of shape people there, they want to go and tell the world. And, I always talk about, if we say God has a plan for your life, well, that's great. The problem is if you're not fit enough to carry out the plan, then how do you know you're doing everything that he wants you to do?
Right.
We lose our physical capabilities because anything we do in the name of God, in the name of whatever you believe, has to be carried out in the physical. It has to be carried out by an action. You can't do unto others if you can't do unto others. So it's like, who's gonna send you if you can't go? If you can't get off the couch, how are you gonna go?
Yeah, and it's not only God, it's our families, it's our children, it's
But
our
that's who you
friends,
serve.
it's our work,
Exactly.
it's everything around us. And our physical being is very important. And like you said, I ignored it for years. I was going to be going to school to be a psychologist, or the things I was
Sure.
doing, but I was ignoring parts of myself, and that led to this deep unhappiness in my life. It was like there was something missing. And I think when you neglect your physical health, you're always going to feel like there's something missing and the puzzle isn't complete.
Yes. And when you neglect your physical health, you stop and think about this. Every dream, every desire, every goal, every hope that you carry in your brain and in your heart, in your soul, has to be manifested in the physical.
Right.
You can't do it outside of that. So why would you not take care of the organism that carries your hopes and dreams? You would have to give it its proper, and more important, you have to give it honor. It's not just a
Right.
matter of glorifying yourself, but it's honoring the fact that this is the vessel, the vehicle that carries my hopes and dreams. This is the vessel
That's
that carries my plans, my desires. This is some, I tell clients, if you took care of your car the way you took care of your body, would you actually trust it to get you anywhere?
Yeah. That's a good point. I never
I,
thought of it that way.
yeah, I've driven beaters, man. I know what it's like to get in a car and hope.
Of course.
Okay. I'm
Of
fortunate to
course.
know the thing I've always known, though, however, is if that one doesn't work, these feet were made for walking and
Yeah.
I can get where I'm going.
But I've driven some bad cars, man. Cars that don't. I once
Yeah.
had a car that didn't have reverse in it, so every time I parked, I had to make sure that I
You're
could pull out.
exactly.
Okay, so if we take that and we look at it, I take care of myself so I can do those things, and that's a beautiful analogy, Roland. Of it, this is the housing of my dreams. This is the only way I'm going to be able to fulfill my life and take care of my wife and take care of my family and take care of all the things that I want to do, and my little dreams of going to Tahiti again someday and doing
Yeah.
those things. I can't do that if I'm sick. And and you see so many news articles where people are just so sick and so tired that they can't, their lives are just misery.
Yeah.
They're trapped in a body that's sick, and a lot of people can't help it. We're talking about cancer and all the things that come as we
Right.
age. But when you're talking about people my age who are trapped in a body, their blood pressure's too high, they're overweight, they're sick, their digestive systems are blown out. I
When you
can't I
talk
can't
about
enjoy my life because I'm
right.
sick,
Well, when
and
you
you can take care of it.
there's a reality in our world that things happen to us because we live in a world that has
Of
bad
course,
stuff in it. Okay,
it has
so
gravity. So
it has gravity, it has microbes, it has germs, it has bacteria, it has viruses. We live in a world where stuff can happen. However, we also, knowing that, have to live in a defensive way. And the defensive posture of protection from disease and from metabolic, disorders and things like that is physical fitness.
mm,
That is your defense. And so you build up your immune system. You do the things you do by saying, I'm going to have a fundamental fitness program that enables my body to be resistant to those things that I know that are out there.
right,
So it keeps me mindful of the fact that I am always, prepared. The Boy Scouts used to tell, be prepared all the ways. That was their motto. Well, the be prepared is part of it should be part of our everyday reality when it comes to things like this. So, again, the problem we talked about this before is the confusion when it comes to physical fitness because there's so much of it has been appearance based.
Right.
And I mean, the reason you get the fat shaming, body positivity movement, and all that kind of stuff is because it is appearance focused. People want to say, accept me as I am, and that's great because we do, accept you as a person.
Of
But
course.
accepting you as a physical specimen, is an entirely different reality. Okay. When you complain about, having to buy, not fitting in an airplane seat, when you know the size of an airplane seat when you buy the ticket.
Right.
Okay. And so if they have restrictions and they say, no, you can't be on this flight, you can't get in the seat without buying another seat or this kind of stuff, that going in. So don't get upset about the size of the plane seat. Okay. These are the things that, we get this. No one has a right to be completely irresponsible and then have other people carry the burden for you. And that's a lot of what we're talking about health. So much of our health issue is self-induced. And then people want the healthcare system to step in and resolve their issue. Again, your story and my story are different. I've never allowed myself to get to a point where I was disgusted with myself. I've never allowed myself to get to the point where I was sick. There's a reality. I've been fortunate that I didn't, I haven't contracted anything that would debilitate me, but everything that was in my power, I took care of. And you being one of those guys that has, hit your rock bottom and then physical rock bottom and then built yourself back up, you're the walking, talking example that all of these other people who whine about the fact that the world isn't taking care of them, should follow. So it's so vitally important. This is great because I need to get militant. I think sometimes we need to get militant about health because we're all spending so much of our time, money, and energy on things that are so fixable.
Right. I understand. Yeah. I appreciate what you said. But there is a thing here. When you become the example, in order to stay humble, I always talk about what happened to me was harsh, but doable. I'm very humble about it. I got crushed. I got 37 broken bones and 11 teeth knocked out, and
yours
to
was
the point of
survival.
I was maimed. I mean,
exactly.
And
yeah.
And when I look back on it, it didn't seem that bad from this point,
right?
Because I worked my way back.
Exactly.
Anywhere you are in life, anywhere you are, it doesn't matter if you're hurt or overweight. It doesn't matter if you fell out of a building and broke your back. Listen to me. It's doable to come back. It doesn't matter if you.
Exactly.
We've all seen people, Roland. We've all seen people lose 150 pounds.
Yes.
We've all seen people holding up the big pants.
Right.
And the human spirit is able to bounce back, no matter where you are, brother. No matter what you're doing, no matter what happened to you, you got the strength inside you to come back. And all it takes sometimes is to hear Tony Horton say, get to work. All it takes sometimes is to hear Bobby Perrine say, I've been there too. Come on with me. Let's do this. That's all it takes sometimes.
And it's funny. The hardest part, like I said, I've been training people for 40 years now. Okay.
Yeah.
You know who have the people who have the toughest problem? The people who have the toughest problem getting in shape are the people who have the most resources and who, in every other aspect of their life, are pretty complete. I call them the fat happy. They have the hardest time.
Complacent.
It's not even. You wouldn't see that these aren't complacent people in how we define complacency in this world. They're very successful. They do a lot of different things, and they are very active in communities. They do all kinds of stuff. On every other metric. This is the one area in their life that they're challenged. And the problem is that this area in life, in our modern life, doesn't seem to fit because it doesn't fit in the survival mode. We talk about the fact that physically we don't need to be in tip-top shape in order to survive as our ancestors did. Okay. Right. Ancestors, we didn't have ancestors that looked like we do today. Okay. 90% of the population is either overweight, overfat, or obese in some of their factor. We're really at this place where getting physically fit is swimming against the cultural norm. I mean, sure. Upstream against the cultural norm in many ways. So the problem is that when you don't have an extreme why, my life is, I'm not broken, I'm not sick, I feel good, but I just woke up one day and I thinking, man, I could do better. And you know what happens? The hard part about that is that these are the kind of people that feel all the other ramifications that come from this unhealthy body positivity movement. They feel like, I could be better, but, I don't want to feel bad about myself. I shouldn't feel bad about myself. They've been being told, accept yourself as you are. But I'm looking in the mirror and I'm standing up and I know I could do better in this area of my life. And I want people to understand that simple dissatisfaction. You don't have to be down in the dumps. You don't have to be falling. You don't have to get a bad diagnosis. It's okay to just use the sanity that God gave you and look in the mirror and go, you know what? That's not a really healthy looking body and I want to do something about it. And just that being enough. You don't have to drum up motivation. It doesn't have to be all this stuff. It's like, what does it take for me to change a little bit and really get healthy? And let that be okay. Take the drama out of the decision and just decide to start doing things that make your body feel better.
You're right. It didn't dawn on me to pursue this life until I hit rock bottom. I had no money. I had no health. I was in a wheelchair. My kids were looking at me with pity in their eyes, and I didn't want that. So that jump started me. But I've seen a lot of people recently, even in the last few years, they get scared by a diagnosis, like you said.
Yeah.
The doctor says, hey, but here's the deal. Here's the issue that I'm having with a lot of people that come to me and they're like, okay, I got this diagnosis. I'm pre-diabetic or I'm a diabetic. What can I do? And I'm specifically thinking of a singular person that I used to work with.
Sure.
He was 6'4", 6'5", weighed 300 pounds, 320. And his doctor told him he's diabetic. Well, there's candy on this man's desk every day that he's just eating jelly beans all day. And that's what he does.
Yeah.
So I told him, I said, dude, the first thing you need to do is make that adjustment in your diet and move that candy off your desk. So instead of moving the candy, he moved it for 3 days and then he hid it from me.
Right.
Whenever I come in his office, he would hide it. He'd put it in the desk.
Absolutely.
So instead of doing that, he went on the insulin. That
Sure.
man's he's no longer alive.
Right.
He died a few years ago.
Absolutely.
But there's people out here in the world, no matter what happened to you, that have already been through that.
Sure.
And you can look at them and they're online. They're everywhere.
Right.
They're here. We're talking to you right now.
Yeah.
It happened to me.
Yeah.
So listen, when the doctor says, listen to the doctor. Get scared if you have to.
Yes.
But like Roland says, you don't have to sink down that far. Just a little bit of dissatisfaction with yourself can flip that trigger in your head and go, okay, I got to do something. This is not right.
It's okay to have a simple reason to change.
Absolutely. You don't need a profound thing happen to you.
But see, that's how a society is set up. That's how things are set up now. This idea that you've got to have a story behind it. It's got to be Instagrammable or Facebook or stuff like that. It's all this stuff. No, sometimes it's just common sense. You wake up one day and go, you know what, the biggest problem I might have is I might live another 20 years.
Yeah.
Okay. It could be, I may actually end up living another 20 years. Do I want to live it like this? and for so many of us, especially, retirees and those who are going to, who are at least at that age, whether they choose to retire or not, but you get to that age and you go, man, you know what? I'm ready to do some things. Okay.
Yeah.
But I can't.
Right.
Okay. I have the resources. I have this. I have everything I need except the energy and the strength and the ability physically to get out there. I'm spending my time. And as you talked about your friend, I mean, we've all had those. I've got guys who are like 300 pounds. It's like, man, how much weight do I need to lose? Okay. Well, I said, you know what? You don't need to lose any weight. Hulk Hogan's 300 pounds. You just change the way you look. You transition the muscle for it. You get off the scale, start doing the things that athletes do. Make yourself stronger. Switch your body up. Get rid of the fat, build the muscle. If you're 6'4", and I've got some of these guys, if you're 6'4" and you're 300 pounds, be 6'4", 300 pounds with 20% body fat.
Oh man. Yeah.
Okay. Just dump the body fat, put the muscle on, and allow your body to change naturally. The way
it's interesting that you said about the scale. I haven't been on a scale. I hadn't been on a scale for a few months because it was in the beginning of my transition. It was, I was on the scale every 15 minutes and it became a psychological problem,
Yes.
But exactly. I haven't been on the scale in months, and I was filling out an application because I want to go ride with the sheriff's department in the helicopter. And they said, I need to know how much you weigh to the pound. And I was like, oh, okay. So I jumped on the scale and I was like, I weigh 10 pounds more than I did 6 months ago, but I look a lot better.
Exactly.
So I just moved that weight around a little bit, and that's what we can all do.
Well, and that's exactly that's really all fitness is. It's being having a healthy body fat percentage that, I always talk about that 20% level, it being your target, getting your body fat down under there and living that way throughout your life. If you stay there, because, as you age, you lose muscle, you do these things. But if you were to maintain that 80-20 ratio, up into your 60s, 70s, again, most of the fitness stuff is that we see out there is basically propagated by 25 to 35 year olds. You go on there and see that. There's a few old guys. There's some of us old guys that are out, doing stuff. You see them on Instagram, but they're, a lot of those guys are the same. They're super, super fit. And so they're doing things that, they look and do things that the average person is not going to get to. And so we still don't teach to the average person. But, it's funny. You want to talk about interesting because, I'm a trainer, but I'm not obsessive. I stay fit. I keep my body fat at a certain percentage and I leave it at that. But because I'm dancing, this is Nutcracker season. I'm performing, I'm dancing right now, and I'm getting in rehearsals and I'm training to be on stage. I'm doing all the stuff I've had to do. So I've been starting since like September doing this, but I've run into a couple of friends of mine. I ran another one today. I ran into the same guy again today. And then another friend I hadn't seen in a while. And all of a sudden, the first time my first buddy saw me and he said, a couple of weeks ago, and he's like, man, you look so lean. He was telling me how lean I'm looking and all this kind of stuff. And then I walk in, I rode to see my other partner, Tom, today. And he's like, man, what are you doing? And they're all tripping out about how I look now, and I'm like, guys, here's the problem. I don't see that I'm making, this much of a transition, but what I got upset about is you guys, I must have been a lot fatter than I thought I was, and neither one of you guys said anything. Okay, if this is making this much difference, and that's the reality, is that they're going, okay, man, well, you looked all right, you know what I mean? But no, if it's this much of a transition, bro, then I must have been way fatter than I thought I was, and none of you guys said anything.
Well, I didn't know you before. See,
exactly.
I haven't seen you in a month. I haven't seen you since you started training. So
exactly,
I wasn't going to say anything, Porky, but
and it's hilarious because these are guys that I see. I've seen several times. In the last, it's been like I think one of my buddies, Tom, he does all my equipment stuff, and so I just hadn't seen him, and it's been about a month or two, 2 months since I saw him, But my other friend Mike, man, I saw him both of them about a month before. So, but we see each other like regularly. It's like at least once a month or so we run into each other or we meet and, stuff like that. So it hadn't been that long, so we're talking about, I've seen these guys like 4 or 5 times since September. And all of a sudden today, since it's been like, I haven't seen you since October, November, all of a sudden it's like, you're freaking out over how I look. And I'm like, how then did you let me walk around thinking I was already? Nobody tells you, you've got muscle. I put on a little icing on my cake, and apparently everybody's cool with it. I'm like, no, I don't want to know. I want to know, dude.
Isn't that the greatest thing though, when you haven't seen somebody in a long time and you've changed your life and you've changed yourself, and that's, you get that rush of like, okay, I'm doing better for myself.
No, because I felt fine before. This is a lack of accountability on the part of my friends. This is what happens when you don't have anybody around you to call you on your softness.
All right, well, listen, dude, I'm watching you, bro. I'm on you now. I'm on you now. I'm gonna scrutinize you every time I see you, man.
I'm on me now.
All right, man. Any last words for today?
You know what? I think only the only last words I want to express today and every day is that to make your life, your physical life, a part of your everyday life, and to do that from the standpoint of prevention, from a standpoint of defense, from the standpoint of aspiration. All the things that you want to accomplish in life are going to be accomplished through your physical body. So make sure that it's in the best condition you can put it in.
Beautiful, man. And all I want to say is, no matter where you are, no matter what's going on, no matter how hurt you are, how overweight you are, how sick you feel, today's a good day to start.
Absolutely.
All Amen. Right, man.
All right. Amen. Appreciate you, brother.
Appreciate you too, brother. See you next week.
Sounds good. Take care.
All right. Later, Bye-bye. Bro.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. Roland and I are grateful for the time you spent with us today. If you liked it, subscribe, because we'll be back every week to offer up that rational and reasonable advice on discovering your individual path to holistic wellness. It's time you join the revolution. See you next week.